The eighth criterion states, is often easily distracted. I think it's important to realize that when we're talking about distractions, we're not just talking about external distractions. Granted, when I was in university and I needed to study for a test, I would go upstairs in the library. I would put my desk facing the corner of the room that I was in, and I would have to find a room where I was by myself. Any movement or sound, especially movement in my peripheral vision, would be cause for instant rubbernecking. And it was very frustrating for me at times to think, well, what are you even looking for? Why do you need to look? But I could not stop myself from looking. And I can't stop myself from hearing. I have this wonderfully frustrating situation where I tend to hear everything that's going on around me, and I have the inability to tune any of it out. And so if I'm having a conversation with somebody and the dog's barking and the TV's too loud and the phone's ringing and someone's saying, "Mommy, Mommy," I'm hearing all of those things at the same time. But the person that I'm talking to, their brain has the ability to filter out most of the unimportant stuff and just pay attention to the important stuff. And so, of course, if I'm having to pay attention to all of those things at the same time, I'm going to be very easily distracted and flitting from one thing to the next. At the top of our brainstem is something called the reticular activating system, and its job, in essence, is to filter sensory information, both internal and external, and decide what needs to be paid attention to and what does not. And typically, in a normal brain, the reticular activating system only pays attention to things that are important in the moment. With the ADHD brain, the reticular activating system is a bit too permissive in its filtering, and it allows much more into our conscious awareness than is needful or useful. It's a similar situation to if you had your computer open and running several programs at once. All of those programs will run slower than if you only had one of those programs open at a time. And so it's a similar kind of paradigm in your brain, where your brain is running several programs simultaneously and jumping back and forth from program to program. One of the complicating factors when it comes to distractibility is that the ADHD brain has a chronically low level of dopamine, and one of the things that increases dopamine level, and even in a normal brain, is anything that is new. And so if my brain is chronically low in dopamine and new things result in an increase in dopamine, then anything that's new on a sensory level or a thought level, internal or external, is going to result in a slight increase in dopamine. And since my brain is very hungry for dopamine, then it is very much geared towards pursuing those things that are going to increase dopamine, which means often going from one new thing to the next. And so it makes us very distractible on both a micro and macro level.